Welcome back to Chapter Day. Happy Tuesday. Wow. I know that I skipped a day yesterday. Was really busy getting some things done. Thank God. But today, here I am, and we will be reading Esther chapter 7. The last time we read, which was Sunday, we read chapter 6, where the king, on a sleepless night, asked to bring his record books before him. And it was discovered that Mordecai, who exposed the plot to kill the king, he was not rewarded. So the king asked Haman, who was in the palace at the time, for a suggestion as to how he should reward Mordecai. Haman, thinking the king was asking him about rewarding him, Haman, gave a real lavish suggestion about putting on all the king's garments, the robe, and riding on his horse, putting on his crown. So the king said, that's what you will do to Mordecai, and don't spare anything. And at that same, just right before that, Haman had come into the palace to see the king about making a gallows 50 cubits high to hang Mordecai. Talk about a twist of fate, okay? Or rather, God stepping into that wicked plan of Haman's, but God had his plan all along. You know what? We think we are so much in charge of every single thing. God has a plan, and if he wants it to go this way, he will allow it. And if he does not, for his own purpose, he will step in. Okay, so we also heard Zeresh, Haman's wife, kind of warning him, you know, if Mordecai is one of those people, they have heard about the Jews and God's favor with the Jews. She warned him, if he is with God, if he's one of the Jews and a seed of the Jews, you can't touch him. That's what she told her husband. You will not prevail against him. Even his wife has some sense. Let's see what happens now in chapter 7. So the king and Haman came to banquet with Esther the queen, and the king said again unto Esther, on the second day at the banquet of wine, what is thy petition, Queen Esther? And it shall be granted thee, and what is thy request? And it shall be performed, even to the half of the kingdom. Then Esther the queen answered and said, if I have found favor in thy sight, O king, and if it please the king, let my life be given me at my petition, and my people at my request. For we are sold, I and my people, to be destroyed, to be slain, and to perish. But if we had been sold for bondmen and bondwomen, I had held my tongue, although the enemy could not countervail the king's damage. Then the king Ahasuerus answered and said unto Esther the queen, who is he, and where is he that durst presume in his heart to do so? Okay, so remember the banquet that Esther invited just Haman and the king to, and Haman went home bragging to his family about how he was invited to a banquet, just him and the king and the queen. This is the banquet taking place here now. And Esther is putting forth her petition to the king that there is well, she didn't say a decree, but she said that there is set in place for her people to be killed. In other words, what she was telling the king, she said, if it had been that we were sold into slavery, I would have held my tongue. I would not be here. But there is someone who is looking to take my life and my people's life. So now King Ahasuerus is saying, who is that? Who is? Okay, let's see what happens. Verse 6. And Esther said, the adversary and enemy is this wicked Haman. How would you have liked to be Haman at that time? Oh my goodness. Then Haman was afraid before the king and the queen. And the king, arising from the banquet of wine in his wrath, went into the palace garden. And Haman stood up to make request for his life to Esther the queen, for he saw that there was evil determined against him by the king. Then the king returned out of the palace garden into the place of the banquet of wine, and Haman was fallen upon the bed whereon Esther was. So, you know, that's not looking good for him either. Then said the king, will he force the queen also before me in the house? As the word went out of the king's mouth, they covered Haman's face. Oh my goodness. Talk about falling into the ditch you dug for someone else. Oh, as I said before, I am almost tempted to feel sorry for Haman, honestly. He sounds like a foolish man who had no clue what he was doing, but just so full of hate. Hate and no sense. Oh my goodness. Verse 9. And Harbona, one of the chamberlains, said before the king, behold also the gallows 50 cubits high, which Haman hath made for Mordecai, who had spoken good for the king, standeth in the house of Haman. Then the king said, hang him thereon. So they hanged Haman on the gallows that he had prepared for Mordecai. Then was the king's wrath pacified. That's the end of chapter 7. Short chapter today. Oh my goodness. I am telling you, when God is for you, no man can stand against you. And when you purpose in your heart to do evil to someone else, beware. You might be the one who is going to be affected by that wicked plan you have. Be careful with God's people. And sometimes we can't tell. We should be able to, but sometimes, you know what? We're so full of hatred, we cannot even stand to see the good in someone else. Everything they do to us is bad in our sight. God help us. Haman reaped exactly what he sowed, literally and figuratively. He reaped exactly what he sowed. Why would you want to destroy an entire people because you hate one man? And why do you hate that man? Only because of your vanity and high-mindedness, that he does not want to bow down to you, who yourself, I'm just a man, is just a man. But God took care of that, and we will see what else God does on behalf of his people. And that's the lesson for us today. Trust God. God said, vengeance is mine. You cannot even begin to repay vengeance, because all you're going to go out there and do is try to do tit for tat, and you're going to end up with splat. Don't do that. Wait on God. God knows, and God will take care of it. Stand still and see the workings of the Lord. Okay, that's it for our reading for today. So until our next reading, and we are almost finished with the book of Esther. I think one more chapter, and that's it. Wow, short book. Okay, have a great day. Until our next reading, keep on listening. That's how our faith grows. Take care. Bye.